Hi, home buyer. Did you know that you don't pay for your buyer's agent? That's paid for by the seller's side of the transaction? That's right. A buyer's agent works for you because they're going to bring a seller a buyer pretty soon. Let's talk about that coming up next. You're gonna buy a house and it's a big, big deal. And you're gonna be hanging out with this maybe once upon a time stranger who's gonna help you get through this big transaction. And they need to get to know you. Your realtor needs to know all your home buying journey dreams. And you need to get to know them because there's gonna come a time in the middle of that transaction where you're talking to each other maybe 3 or 4 times a day because you're negotiating and you're making decisions and you're finding things out about this house and you're moving through the process. So you really want to work with a realtor that you're on the same page with. It's super important. So let's talk about why you meet with your realtor and you get to know them and they get to know you way before you actually start looking for a house. Coming up right here. Your realtor is going to find something very personal to you. So you want to tell them as much as you can about what you need in a home, in a neighborhood, in the schools, in your commute, in the architectural design, in the way you need the home configured. Maybe you have an elderly parent who's going to move in with you. You have big dogs, or you've just got to buy some land this time. You want a big backyard. Maybe you want some farm animals. There's all kinds of things that your realtor really needs to know about you to really work effectively with you. So it's super important to sit down with them and talk about all this stuff and to get to know your realtor too. Are they local? How long have they lived there? How long have they been a realtor? What's their experience? What brokerage are they with? It is really, really important to sit down with somebody who's going to be representing you and who you're going to interact with a lot in the next 30, 60 days as you go through the process, and you kind of need it all to gel. This is Anita. I'm a Keller Williams realtor here in Sonoma County, and let's talk about that important 1-hour meeting. I sit down with all my buyers for 1 hour, and I have like a 20-page checkoff list in front of me because there's a lot of stuff I want to know so that we don't go looking for 2-story homes when you told me 1-story homes, and we don't go looking for homes with huge backyards when you were like, look, we both work, we don't really take care of yards. So I don't want to be showing you a big backyard if you don't have dogs or you don't barbecue or something like that, right? I mean, I really need to hone in on your wants and your desires and your dreams. And it's fun also to get to know each other because we're going to be talking a lot. I mean, you might be calling me at 9:30 at night to ask me that question the 3rd time, or to figure out what we're doing the next day because our plans changed a little bit because we couldn't go to the 9 o'clock showing, we had to go to the 11 o'clock appointment or something like that. It gets to the point where we're interacting a lot, and you really want to make sure that most of the components in personality, in the way we operate, and in the way we get to know each other really, really works, because we're going to look for a home for you, and it just needs to be a pleasant, great experience all along the way. So that's kind of my opening thought on why it's important to sit down with a realtor, because you're going to be interacting with them and working with them a whole bunch. When I talk about meeting a realtor, I'm not always talking about meeting them because you just found a house and you want to put in an offer. I mean, that's great and everything, but most people need a little bit of navigating through the process of buying a house. And realtors are all up in the middle of it all day long, working with vendors, working with sellers, working with buyers. They get through the legal process, the contract process, working with the title and escrow company, coaching you on the best way to go about certain things, or sharing with you their experience so that you don't make bad decisions, or we help you kind of mitigate the risk in the process of buying a house. So it's really important to hook up with a realtor, to get with a realtor, get to know them, and become involved with them and let them work for you way early in the game, especially if you've never purchased a house before. There's a lot of preparation that you're going to want to do. And I know in my upper left-hand corner, I have plenty of videos explaining to first-time buyers all the details in getting ready to buy a house, what happens when you're in the middle of buying a house, and all the details. So if you're just curious about buying a house and you're like, what's it like? What's it take? Well, sit down with your realtor, find a realtor who's friendly and will sit down with you and explain the whole process, because you'll take about 4 pages of notes, because it's a whole bunch. I'm not going to tell you it's not. And the first thing you'll start thinking about is the money part, preparing for the money, meeting a lender, getting your down payment ready, and cleaning up your credit. So that can take 6 months to a year, maybe 2 years. I have lots of clients I met at an open house, in 2016, and I didn't sell them a house till 2017, 18, or 19 because they needed to prepare. But because they met me, there was no doubt in their mind what they needed to do to get ready to buy a home. So it was a great, smooth process. And then right before we actually start looking, because now they're prepared, they have money, they've met with a lender and they're ready to go, that's a whole other conversation. We kind of review some things and then we move forward. So my hint to all home buyers is to meet with a realtor very early on. Just even when you get the itch to move or to buy up or you're relocating out of state, sit down with a realtor so you can find out what it's really going to be like. And that's whether you're buying a house or selling a house, quite frankly. It takes some thinking to put a house on the market as well. So meeting with a realtor early on is super important. Now, if you're buying a house, what's important is getting your money lined up early, which I mentioned before. So I usually introduce my buyers to a great lender, and you sit down with them and they explain to you the whole home buying process. And they'll go through a lot of numbers with you. If you're buying a $370,000 condo as your first purchase, how much money do you need down? And what kind of loan should you get? Are you a vet? Did you serve our country? Well, you don't have to come up with a down payment. Did you know that? It's great. If you're going to use a USDA loan, yes, that's the Department of Agriculture actually loans on homes, but only in certain outside rural areas. That's probably something you didn't know. There's oftentimes first-time buyer programs that, other than those, that you want to learn about early on. We also talk about seasoning money. So if someone in your family is giving you money, you want to know about that early on, because you can't put that in your bank account 3 days before we're actually buying a house for you. It needs to be seasoned and in the bank. Otherwise, red flag to the IRS, the FBI, and everybody else at banks. So we talk about some important money stuff, but mostly the loan process, which you'll discuss with a lender. So that's kind of another component, and probably one of the first important parts, besides actually getting to know your realtor, that you're going to want to really get an education on and you're really going to want to learn about. So one of the things I do when I'm talking to people that are about to buy a house especially, is I go through the whole process of buying a house. What's it like once you make an offer? And what's the inspection process like? And what's escrow like? And what's closing? I go through this whole process so that when we're out hunting for homes, you're ready to go. I don't pull any surprises on you, because in the heat of the battle, when you've just fallen in deep like with the house, you don't want to be learning something for the first time. Like, oh, by the way, when you go to get inspectors, each one of them costs about $400. Yes, you're going to have to spend money just to look into this house that you just made an offer on that just got accepted. And you're going to go inspect the house. And those inspectors cost you money that you'll never see again. Okay, so there's things you want to know and learn way ahead of time, and know that your realtor really is going to be a good coach and a good navigator for you through the whole process. And speaking of those inspections, I mentioned that each inspection, like the pest inspection and the home inspection, and maybe the home inspector says, I think the roof needs inspecting, and the electrical panel needs inspecting, and maybe the pool needs inspecting. And you're like, ooh, how much is that all gonna cost? Well, I tell people to put aside somewhere around $2,000 in a special home searching bank account, or at least know that there's money there, because when you make an offer on a house and it gets accepted, you're doing these inspections, and these guys like to be paid on the spot while they're there telling you the condition of this house that you're very interested in. So we talk about the money up front that you'll need just to figure out if you really, really do like this house that you just kind of fell in love with. One of the things that's super important to cover in purchasing a house and in working with your realtor is how do you all communicate, and what are the time frames of things. So early on in the video, I talked about just meeting and getting to know each other. And then I talked about getting serious about money. And then as you move closer to actually, like, you have a pre-approval letter from your lender and you're ready to go look for a house, okay, then we start looking for a house, and we go out and we look for homes, either through you looking on the internet through my portal to my listing service, or maybe my app on the phone. But one of the things I make sure that we do is that we're both using the same technology. So I'm kind of anti-Zillow and Realtor.com, because their information is never, rarely, well, oftentimes inaccurate, let's just say. And I don't use that service. I have a real-time service called my listing service. So I know the status of every house on the market, except for people that don't want to list it on an MLS, which is very rare. It does happen though. But for the most part, every realtor in Marin County and Sonoma County and Napa County use the same listing service, and we can tell if a house has already been sold, if it's pending, if it just got in contract. We know everything about the house, and I want you to be able to have the same status. So I hook you up into a portal, into my listing service. You get emails on all the brand new listings coming through, and you have an app on your phone, which is awesome. It's the Keller Williams app, and it's the real-time inventory. So when you go pull up to a house because you just saw a sign, you touch your screen of your phone and it shows you all the information and all the 45 pictures about the house. It's great. And then you call me and you're, Anita, we really want to see 123 Main Street. And then I call the listing agent and find out the real scoop on it. I read the notes that are on my listing service that don't show up on your screen. And we really learn how to communicate together in the heat of the battle. When you're out looking with your tools and I'm back here looking with my tools, and one way or the other, there's a house that we find, or maybe 2 or 3 houses that you want to go look at. And part of my job is to do as much homework as I can, meaning call the listing agents and find out, do they have other offers? Are there special disclosures and reports we can print before maybe we go look at the house? Or if you turned out you love the house, we do it right after, that we read and we go through, so we find out if you really want to put an offer in on it. So there's a lot of things that happen communicating with our technology and many other components. So one thing I really sit down with is, are you a texter? Are you an emailer? Or do you like me to phone call you, or all of the above? So the way we communicate and we really jive and we get together when we're gonna start looking for a house is super important. So I talk about that a lot, because there's a lot of people that don't have smartphones, or they don't really use the computer that much, and they really need me to search for the home exclusively, or they're hot on the trail at the other end of the spectrum. They're hot on the trail and they're using my app and they're using my information I'm sending them on the email, and they're texting and emailing me quite frequently because they're driving by houses and they love it from the outside and they want to go see the inside. So communicating and figuring out how best we do that is super important, including how late are we up at night? You know, how late can you call me? How fast do I call you back? All right, I'm super busy and I call everyone back, but what if I'm driving for 2 hours or showing a house and then I have to drive an hour? I might not call you back for a while, but I'll always call you back. So this stuff is really important to talk about way ahead of time so you kind of know the timing and like basically how a realtor works. We're not at your beck and call, but we're there because you want to find a house. But we drive and we eat and we sleep too. So we all kind of have to get on the same wavelength of how that all works. And then it's really awesome because it all kind of starts to flow. You start finding houses and we start looking at them. And that's really cool. So talking about communicating is kind of a part of getting to know each other. And it's super important because when things start flying, they start flying. Like you start finding houses and I start looking into them for you and getting back to you, and we start figuring things out. So communication becomes super key in the process of getting to know your realtor. And here's one, I think this is my final thought, is you make an offer and it gets accepted. And then now what? What happens? Well, things start to move quickly. You'll bring some earnest money to a title company. We'll do 17 days of inspections. There's lots of stuff that goes on in that period of time. And you want to know how your realtor operates with that and what is your part in the escrow process and what is your realtor's part in the escrow process. And then what happens at the end of the transaction? How is money transferred? How are documents signed? We sign them digitally now. But if you don't have a computer and you don't do that, then I need to print up about 200 documents and come and have you sign them in blue ink and go through each one of them so you understand. So there's a lot of clarification and communication that goes on, and especially in the end when we're signing some important documents and you're coordinating more with the title and escrow company and we're getting towards the end of the transaction. There's some special things that happen right in those moments as well. And it's important to kind of know how your realtor operates. Where are you guys? Are you buying this house from out of state? Are you military? Are there special things we need to do in this process? Are there things I need to know? Gosh, there's just things to think about and to do and to learn from one another how to make it happen seamlessly and easily for everybody, because it's a big deal. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of money involved, and we need it to all really work out so that you're really happy when I hand you keys to your own front door. So what would be your main question you would ask a realtor when you go to hire them? I want to know. Put it in the comments section right below this video. And while you're looking around down there, look for the description section where I have my free things, like free ebook, a free buyer's guide, free seller's guides, free relocation guide. And I'm an affiliate with Homes for Heroes. Homes for Heroes is a big thank you program to all our local heroes. It's nationwide, and I'm an affiliate, which means if you're active or retired military or a first responder or a teacher, I give you a great big nice check after you buy or sell a home for a big thank you for being a local hero. So check it out. It's a great program. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button over there and the little bell so that you get all my future videos, and look up in the right hand corner up there for the next video with Discover Sonoma County Living. This is Anita with Keller Williams Real Estate, and I'll see you around the neighborhood.